Hello, today I'll show you how we attach a persistent volume claim into the Kubernetes cluster OKE service in Oracle Cloud. For now, I have my Kubernetes cluster created with 3 nodes in separate availability domains. As you can see here, 81, 82, 83. Now what I'll do is I'll create a file storage first. Before I go there, I'll just show you I'm working in the Kubernetes VCN. So I will have that storage, the file storage created in the Kubernetes cluster, in the Kubernetes cluster's virtual cloud network. So this is going to be file system for NFS. I'll give it a user-friendly name. Placing it in availability domain 1. Export information is provided here. The export path is FSS OKE. Not going to change that. The mount target is going to be a new mount target, which is going to be FSS OKE mount target. You can name this anything, place it in the Kubernetes cluster's VCN, and preferably in the private subnet. Then we create the file system. This takes a little while, not too much. The reason we're using the file system, the file storage service, is because this volume needs to be shared between the resources in different availability domains. You can do the same thing if your nodes are in the same availability domain. Okay, so we have FSS created here. There we go. And now we go into the YAML files. So the first thing we're going to do is to create a YAML file to create the persistent volume. And for that, what we'll do is I'll have a new window here. Right. So this is going to be our FSS-PV, which is you can give it any name, but this is simply going to have you create the YAML file or create the persistent volume. Okay, so this is V1 persistent volume. The name is going to be any name. You can name this anything, but I'll just name this FSS-PV, which stands for the persistent volume. I'll give this the capacity with the 50 gigs that I'll start with, or I can go with 100, anything. Doesn't matter. Access modes, these are all Kubernetes configurations. And then the important thing is the volume handle. For the volume handle, we're going to go and get the OCID of the file service, the file system. Then we're going to go a colon. Then we're going to go here into the export path, go back, get the mount commands, and get the IP address here, which is an internal IP address, and paste it here. And then I'll just create a directory here. Then I'll go and create my FSS YAML file. Paste everything inside this, save it, and then run kubectl-f, kubectl create -f, and create the persistent volume. There's no need to say this, but I already have my Kubernetes cluster registered to my local machine. So you can go and do the same thing in the Kubernetes cluster and then access cluster details. So local cloud shell, you should do this first before you, of course, do your configure, or you will be able to access the Kubernetes cluster. The second thing that I'm going to create is the persistent volume claim. And for that, I'll create another YAML file. This is going to be for the persistent volume claim. And then now I'm going to name this persistent volume claim. I named this one PVC, persistent volume claim. And I also defined the storage here again. In the previous one, I gave that 100 gigs. Now I'm going to give this particular volume claim 50 gigs. And then I'm going to name the volume name that this claim is going to use, which is going to be PV, which was here. So the name of the persistent volume. Now I am going to create another file and another YAML file. Paste this here. And then run my kubectl create from file. And then run the PVC command with the FSS PVC YAML file. And there we go. Let's see. Get PV. Get PVC. As you can see, both are created here. Now, let's create a pod with this persistent volume claim. And here is an example. This is FSS dynamic app. This is the name of the pod. Going to be using Nginx. Going to be using persistent storage. The mount path will be user share Nginx. HTML can be anything. You can just name that user share mount. And then you're going to define the persistent volume claim name here. So I'll also name that. Now I'm going to create another YAML file for the FSS, for the application, paste everything in there. And then kubectl create -f FSS dynamic app YAML. There we go. And then let's see the pod description. We're going to see right over here that the claim name is here. It's not read only, persistent storage is there. And if you go and log in to the pods, you will see that the node or the file storage has been open up the access for the instances. So as you can see, this is how we do the file storage mount or the persistent volume claim with the file storage, with the existing file storage. These will be the YAML files will be available in the GitHub that I will upload them there. And yeah, if you have any questions, just let me know. Thank you.